Hello! In this video we're going to explore game boards, find out what they are, how to create them, save them and share them. Now we've already sort of come across game boards already because when we created our quick start we talked about getting game boards as well. Now on this screen I'm in my home page and I've got a single room with a single game board, and you can see the connection here. So the team room is called unnamed team room, and inside unnamed team room there's a blank game board. So if I create a new team room using the quick start and go back to my home, I can see I've now got two sections here. I've got my getting started team room with these two game boards, and it says there's some more, and I've got my unnamed team room with this one. So let's go and look at what these game boards are. I'll start in this blank game board. So a game board is a canvas. It's as wide or as tall as you want it to be, and you can configure it in various ways. Down here at the bottom we've got some menu controls. So this one will allow me to change the color of the background, the color of the grid lines, or to reset to default. This one on the right will show me everything on my board, and this one on the left is a mini map. Now we've got nothing in it just now, so that's why it's blank. How do I use a game board? Well, we can show you a few different ways in the starter games that we'll go through, but really the limit to a game board is your imagination. Some of the things we can do: we can create shapes, we can change their color and their borders, we can add circles and lines and arrows. With an arrow I can change its how it looks, take away the arrowhead, and then clicking on that one it would configure the other side, and I can change the color of my arrows as well. So we've got the normal sorts of things you would expect in a canvas. What we also have though is the ability to bring into the canvas things from our practices. So if I look at these things, these are the different ways you treat work in a Kanban system, this class of service archetypes, and when I click on them you can see the right hand panel changes. So I've got now my canvas being aware of the practices that are in my team room, and I can then create some games or some boards. So for example, with this one I could do a really simple game where I could say, well, let's say very useful, and Control and C to copy. Not very useful. So that's my little scale, and I just put a line there. Maybe we'll put an arrowhead at the end of it, and maybe the game is to take these four class of service archetypes, and as a team we'll decide where they fit on the scale from being very useful for our service to be not very useful for our service. Now I can change how these look. So they've got this icon, we call this the icon view, but I can change this to a token view, which can be quite nice to play. It makes it a bit more like moving a card or a post-it note around. And I can also make them look, if I prefer, like a card, where it shows me the description of what the element means. So I can very quickly create a game board that's got these this game that we can play, and then we can generally get some actions as a result. If this is a useful game board, well, why don't I name it something else and we can save it. So let's give it a name. Let's rename it to how useful is this, and I can save it. Now when I save it, I click on the dots here and I save as a file. It's going to save it in my downloads folder as gameboard.json. So we can go and find it in there, rename it to something that we want, and then we can bring it in to another board. So let's do that. Let's go into another team room. So if I come into my other team room, the getting started one, and I'd like to play that game with those Kanban things, well, first I'm going to need to have the Kanban practice inside my team room. So let's do that first. Let's go and grab Kanban Foundation, and then I can go and upload that game board that I've just saved. So it's called JSON Gameboard .json, and I'll call that the how useful game. Create, and it's going to go and recreate that game board inside this new team room. So when I go back to my home page, I can see I've got my original How Useful Is This game board and the new How Useful game, and it's the same game board, but it's in two different team rooms. So now there's two copies of it. So if I make changes on this board, then they're not going to be reflected on the other board because it's in a different team room. So that's how you can create a game board and you can share it with people and they can bring it into their team room. What if you want to share more widely? Well, we can create templates. So if I come up here and I go into new, I've now got a list of templates that I can choose from. And these are the templates that are in the Getting Started game board team room. So if I pick one of those, for example, the Map My Way of Working, and I create that, what that's now done is opened up a new instance of this game board for my team room. And you can see we've got the Map My Way of Working in twice. So let's just rename this one just so that we don't get them mixed up. So that's how we can load a template. Now, at the moment on this version, there's a few templates that you can choose between, but there's going to be more, and you can create templates yourself. So there's how you create a new game board, how you save a game board, how you load a game board in from file, and some of the basic functionality about how you use a game board. When you're creating a game board, by the way, I will just show you briefly some of the other features that you might find useful. So I can line these up myself. If I hold down Control, then I get some lines that help me line things up. But the other thing I can do is if I select them, this is an alignment tool. I can align them all to the middle. Control Z will undo. I can line them up on the right, and I can spread them out vertically or horizontally. So there's some nice little tools to arrange tokens like that. I can also take those 4 tokens and I can group them. So now I can move them around as one, and I can lock them. So now they don't move because they're locked, and I can unlock them or unpin them like that. I can also create links to web pages or to other parts of the practice. I can bring them forward or send them to the back, and I can change their color. Now, if I change their color, I made them green, for example, that's going to change this instance of that. So if I go and find that same token from the practice and bring it on, even if I change it into this token style, then it's still got the default colors. So well, that can be quite useful for creating groups of things. For some of the games, if you want to play by giving each person in your team the same tokens, you can color them differently so you can see who's played which tokens where. And then we can also add on, as you saw, text, and we can change that text font as you would expect. And then when I create a text box, I can also set it to be a header. I can make it bold, change the alignment and things like that. So really, as I said, the limit to how game boards can be used is really the limit of your imagination. Inside these other games, which we will explore in other videos, you've got some ideas for things you can do with your game boards. And I'll show you the example of that mini map. So here you can see I can use this to move around the surface in a kind of quick way, and then that one shows me everything on the one screen. Not so good for reading, but really good to see the overall landscape of your game board. So lots more to talk about with game boards when we go through the games, and lots more for you to experiment with.